90 years ago, I sold a foreigner a tooth. I did not know at the time that I was selling him the biggest animal that ever lived. I worked behind the counter of my uncle's shop in Hong Kong. We sold dragon bone. Ground fine, it eased headaches. Burned red, it stopped fits in children. This had been the trade for 2,000 years, and nobody behind a counter like mine had ever seen a dragon. The foreign man came in most weeks that year. He did not want headache powder. He wanted to see the drawer. Every drawer. He would turn each tooth over in the light, set most of them down, and leave with nothing more than a polite nod. One afternoon, he did not set the tooth down. Here is what dragon bone actually was. Old bone, turned to stone, dug from the hill country. We called it long gu. A medical text nearly 2,000 years old lists it as a cure for troubled sleep and troubled minds. Some of it we burned to ash first. Some we sold raw for children who convulsed. Nobody in my uncle's shop thought we were selling fossils. We thought we were selling dragon. Some of what we sold was not even bone. A kind of ancient shellfish, turned entirely to stone, was ground for eye trouble and rheumatism. If a customer believed dragon could take the shape of a shell, we did not correct him. Belief was not really our business. Relief was. And here's the part almost every documentary gets wrong afterward. People assume the fossils were dinosaur bone. Mostly they were not. The stock that reached collectors in Europe was overwhelmingly the teeth of an ancient horse, alongside mastodon and dozens of other animals from an age far more recent than the dinosaurs. A scientist who studied this trade found roughly 60 different species in one shipment alone. There was a simple reason dinosaur bone was rarely the answer. Dinosaur bone is old enough to be fused into hard rock, brittle, and slow to dig out safely. What we sold was abundant and easy to dig with a shovel and a basic chisel. That is not what a dinosaur skeleton allows. So when the foreign man leaned over our drawer that afternoon, he was not looking for a dragon. He was not looking for a dinosaur either. I did not know what he was looking for. Neither did he, exactly, until he found it. He picked through perhaps 30 teeth before his hand stopped.
He held it up to the window, turned it once, turned it again. I remember his face did not move for a long moment. The way a face goes still when it is doing arithmetic it does not like the answer to. He asked where it came from. I said the west, past Guangxi, same as always. He asked to see more like it. I said this was the only one we had ever had. He bought it for less than the price of a proper meal. He came back nearly every week for 4 years after that, hunting the same drawers up and down the coast. In all that time, he found perhaps 3 more. Here is what he was holding. A molar. Twice the width it should be for any ape alive or dead that anyone had ever cataloged. He named the animal after a friend of his who had died the year before, studying an entirely different set of old bones. He called it Gigantopithecus, the largest primate ever known to have existed. Not a myth, not a folktale. 3 meters standing, built like something between a gorilla and an orangutan, and roughly 2 to 3 times the weight of either. For 20 years afterward, that is all anyone had of it. A handful of teeth bought over a counter. Then in 1956, diggers in the ground where those teeth actually came from found a full jaw and more than 1,000 more teeth still in the rock. The dragon's tooth had a real address after all. To this day, nobody has ever found one full skeleton. Only teeth and 4 jaws. The rest of the animal likely rotted or was gnawed apart by porcupines long before it had the chance to turn to stone. Picture the forest it actually lived in, because for once, we do not have to guess. Thick, warm, southern China. Thousands of years before anyone stood behind a counter selling its teeth as medicine. It ate almost nothing but plants, fruit in season, grass when fruit ran out. It was too heavy to climb, so it walked the forest floor the way a gorilla does, on its knuckles,
alone or in small groups, avoiding everything smaller and faster than it was. It shared that forest with a smaller, lighter cousin, an early relative of the modern orangutan, built for the branches this animal could never reach.
For nearly 2 million years, that arrangement held, long enough that some people today think it never fully ended. There are those who believe an animal like this survived long enough to become the yeti, or the animal your country calls Bigfoot. I understand the appeal of that. I sold its teeth across a counter for 4 years without once imagining what stood behind them. It is a short step from that to imagining one is still out there. I do not think that step is true, but I understand exactly why people take it. Then, a little over 250,000 years ago, the forest began to change. Longer dry seasons, less fruit, more open ground. Its smaller cousin adapted, changed its diet, changed its habits, and is still alive today in the shape of the modern orangutan. Gigantopithecus did not adapt. A study published in 2024 dated the animal's disappearance with more precision than anyone had managed before, using 6 separate dating methods across 22 caves. It found the extinction happened between 295,000 and 215,000 years ago, earlier than anyone had assumed. The teeth from that final period show real chronic stress in a population that was shrinking before the end ever came. It never met a human being. It went extinct before our kind ever reached that forest. The drawer I served from is gone now, along with the shop, but the trade is not entirely gone. Dragon bone is still sold in parts of China today, still dug by hand, still regulated now by law, because some of what is dug up still matters to people trying to understand what came before us. There is a hill north of Beijing that farmers and diggers had been calling Dragon Bone Hill for generations, long before any scientist arrived there. When they finally did arrive, they found something that had nothing to do with my drawer at all. Not an ape, a man. One of the oldest and most complete records of a human ancestor ever recovered, sitting under a hillside that had been feeding the dragon bone trade for as long as anyone could remember its name. I sold a man a tooth once, for less than a meal costs. It turned out to be the last living trace of the biggest primate the world ever produced. I still do not know what to do with that, except tell it.